Have you heard the one about how many cops it takes to hold down a barbecue joint?
Coming under the guise of sustainable development. Hook it up. The Great Reset, the Great Reset. Yo, they're coming to destroy the economy.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Appropriate Productions, the apolitically correct, freedom-centric art company. In today's episode, we're going to look at the city of Toronto and their stance on barbecue, or really more accurately, on small business. You see, on behest of Mayor John Tory and Premier Doug Ford, in Canada, a premier is to a province what a governor is to a state. On behest of these two, the province of Ontario has sort of locked down, but more specifically in this episode, we're going to talk about how the city of Toronto, on behest of Mayor John Tory, has locked down quite seriously. And it's had many serious consequences, invasive consequences to its citizens, among the many of which are small business owners' inability to open up shop or just to run their lives normally. In this case, a fellow by the name of Adam Skelly runs, in part, runs a barbecue station or restaurant known as Adamson's Barbecue. And it's gotten into all the news lately because the guy has defied lockdown orders and he just opens up shop. And he gets all kinds of support from the people who don't agree with the lockdowns and all kinds of attention from those who do agree with the lockdowns. He's become sort of a media frenzy. The police are always involved. And we're going to look into it today. We're going to start next with a short little take of Adam Skelly himself explaining his take on why he's doing all this.
Best to speak from the heart, to just put myself out there and share my perspective with everybody. I mean, of course, it's terrifying going up against the entire system. I put myself out there like that, but there's no choice. There's nothing we can do with it.
What do you got here?
This is my 3-year-old boy, Riley. I'm fighting for him today. Okay, buddy.
And Adam's decision here has pissed off quite a few people, among them Doug Ford. Doug Ford is, again, the premier of our province, which gives him quite a bit of powers, not quite as much as you might expect. You see, Doug's done something pretty interesting lately. Check it out. You see, back in July, our boy Doug Ford here sought emergency powers for up to 2 years so he could protect us from COVID, going to work and feeding our children, paying for rent, as it's looking increasingly canceling Christmas. And how did that work out? Well, he ends up having to kick... Oh, he gets it. He does get it. So he's our premier for the next 2 years with the same powers as Mao Zedong might have had in China. So that's going to be fun. It'll be cool to look at. That was on July 7th, by the way. And then July 22nd, here we are, of this year. Same month. He kicks Belinda Carajalios off of her job. He kicks her out of the caucus because he voted against the measures bill. So that's how we're going in Ontario right now. How do you suppose these new powers are used by men like Doug Ford and John Tory when a man like Adam Skelly opens his barbecue joint?
Coming under the guise of sustainable development. Hook it up. The Great Reset, the Great Reset.
Well, you saw the opening. It's quite a long parade of police, I think you might agree. And what were they there on behalf of? Who sent them? Was it the police station? Was it the commissioner? So the police were hired as a personal interest. It's not unlike when there's a movie being filmed in a public area, or maybe some construction is being done in a way that overlaps with public space, or there's a parade happening and they'll hire police just to maintain order with the public. Well, that's certainly not how it's being portrayed in the media. That's uncommon, isn't it? And what happens to Joe if he keeps on opening? Wow, that escalated really quickly, didn't it? I'm saying that in the context of a guy opening up his barbecue joint and had 97 cops sent to make sure that no trouble was started. In the context of that situation, I think this escalated very quickly. Wow. And who authorized this? Certainly this time it was a police commissioner, right? A medical official shut this man's business down. Okay. I guess because of all of the super spreading going on, huh?
Hundreds of thousands. There's way more of us than you guys. You get to wake up. Today you got a taste of what's coming next. What's coming next is flooding the streets. We're flooding the streets. That Square is flooding will be full. We're shutting down the city this Saturday.
Wow, that looked pretty serious, didn't it? Yeah, I agree. A 2-minute drive away, there's a Costco that's been open this entire time throughout the entire lockdown without a single measure taken against it or any police showing up. Whatsoever, not once. Here's a picture taken from the inside. And then there's this next following video, which was not only endorsed and celebrated, but actually invited by all the same people who are currently saying that Adamson's Barbecue is a dangerous super spreading event. Uh-huh. Okay, yeah. Yeah. It looks pretty controlled. A lot of social distancing everybody's 6 feet apart, right? That's the case they're making. Adamson's Barbecue. A few hundred people a day. Totally dangerous. A super spreader event. This was not only encouraged, this was celebrated. Everywhere. By most of the same agents and actors currently referring to Adamson's Barbecue as being a dangerous stunt, a publicity stunt, and nothing more, referred to this as totally reasonable and safe at the beginning and outbreak of a pandemic. So yeah, there you go. And on a day that Adam Skelly was prohibited by the state to work at his place of business, the following took place, without a single police station whatsoever, as they blocked traffic. And off in the backdrop, while all of the attention is being focused between men like Adam Skelly and the police officers prohibiting him from working, the following is happening all over the world. Well, back in Toronto, Canada, one of our MPPs has just been arrested and faces jail time for organizing an anti-lockdown protest, a singular protest against the lockdowns. And he is an MPP. He serves publicly. Could be sent to jail for such a thing. Keep in mind the videos we just watched of the BLM protests. Yeah. Justin Trudeau attended one of those. Just a few short weeks after his wife was diagnosed with COVID, he shows up to one of these things, surrounded by police, protecting him And Randy Hillier does something to a much larger scale and himself becomes arrested. This is an extreme double standard. I'm going to read some of the article here. This is insanity. Ontario independent member of provincial parliament Randy Hillier was charged yesterday for organizing and attending an anti-lockdown protest outside the provincial legislature that was attended by an estimated 700 people. 700 people. Think of that BLM protest you saw in Ottawa. Tens of thousands, at least thousands of people. Yeah, 700, he gets arrested. He was charged under the Reopening Ontario Act and is scheduled to appear in court January 7, 2021. The Reopening Ontario Act is a criminal charge now. That's going to come up later in the video. His No More Lockdowns protest contravened Premier Doug Ford's latest order classifying Toronto as the surrounding Peel region as of Monday as grey zones, which have the most severe restrictions of the province's 5 zones. Yeah, this right here. So the lockdowns include limiting outdoor and organized public events or social gatherings to a maximum of 10 people, which you can already see wasn't applied to the protest in the street at night. So, rules for thee, but not for me. He's looking to challenge the constitutionality of Ontario's COVID-19 restrictions in court, and that's going to be coming up an awful lot. I think that's where all of this is headed. Conservative pundit Andrew Lawton pointed out a rather dangerous precedent being put here. Just to put this in perspective, Canadians live now in a country in which a sitting opposition politician was charged for dissenting with the government. He's not supposed to be doing it in such a public manner, but there are no more private venues. Everything's been locked down. There's no place left for this man to articulate his distaste. And I think distaste at this point is a light way to articulate the idea of many people's views on lockdowns. He mentions that Justin Trudeau was protected by police when demonstrating in front of Parliament in front of thousands of people at the outbreak of the pandemic, but Randy Hillier gets charged and might face jail time towards, months and months and months after the pandemic has run through people, and with only 700 instead of thousands of people. Madness. Hillier was a famously outspoken independent MPP who was permanently kicked out of the Progressive Conservative Caucus on March 2019, allegedly over his differences with 2 of Ford's senior advisors at the time. Has been excoriating, I don't even know what that word is, I'm not even going to try, the Ford government for months for its coronavirus response. It talks a bit about Adam Skelly, how he's a father of 2 and faces 13 criminal and non-criminal charges, including trespassing on his own property, intent to obstruct police on his property as they stop him from entering his own place of business, violating indoor dining rules, holding a illegal gathering, and operating a business without a license, the CBC reported. That last one's accurate, actually. He's talked a bit about it. He's looking to get it. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. He's been in business a long time. I'm not sure what that is. That's a big question mark for me, and that could be a big chink in his armor. It talks a bit more about some of the other people who went to the protests, including 2 small business owners. There's these 2 women. I'm just going to recap quickly. They are single moms. Both of them have 1 income each and 2 kids. They don't want to close down. They both run their own businesses, salons, and they are very frustrated. They've poured all their life savings into the businesses. They're doing all of the guidelines. They do all the PPE. They take precautions. They disinfect it after every single client. But then they go to Costco, she says here, when there's 50 people in front of her and 50 people behind her, and there's no consequence. Hillier mentions here as well, he took aim at big businesses, telling the crowd that the Ford government allowed Hudson's Bay to stay open when the corporations pushed back against the latest lockdown. Hudson's Bay, for those who may not be familiar, is a giant department store company, sort of like Target or Walmart, something like that. Difference being that they don't sell any pharmaceuticals or groceries. They might somewhere, maybe there's 1 or 2 spots. I've never seen one in my entire life of traveling across Canada. I've never seen one that sold anything other than clothing and, maybe some bits of furniture and some stuff to make your house look nice. Under the lockdown measures, there is not one single decent reason why Hudson's Bay should be allowed to stay open while Adamson's is closed unless there's money involved. Being transferred illegally. It's called bribes. It's called bribes. Yeah. Yeah. So, that's where we're at there. One of our politicians has been arrested and might fail jail time. Oh, wait. This is important. The penalty for conviction runs from a minimum of $10,000 fine to a maximum of a $100,000 fine and a year in jail. Randy Hillier, this man, might go to jail and faces a fine of up to $100,000 for disagreeing with the lockdowns. A public representative, was arrested for organizing a protest against the lockdowns, which included 700 people at the protest. And he was arrested because of the dangerous precedent he was setting. How many people could become infected from the disease as a result of his 700 people gathering? Here's the leader of our country, just a few weeks into the pandemic opening. Amazing. And what's become of our barbecuing protagonist in this story? Certainly, if there's one thing I think we can all agree on, is that there's no weird things forced into this man's bail.
I just spent over 30 hours detained for mischief and obstruction charge. That's something that most people don't even get brought in for. It took so long today because the Crown Attorney was being advised at a province level on what my bail conditions should be. One of those bail conditions is that I'm not allowed to use, communicate, or post on social media. That to me is really interesting. I wonder what it is that the province doesn't want everybody to know. Freedom! Yeah, bro, what do you gotta say?
This is what his restaurant looks like at night. In a city with one of, I think it still has the highest crime rating in all of the country. And there's the story as it stands so far. Just for opening up a barbecue station, an MPP, a public representative named Randy Hillier, remains in jail while Adam Skelly is now out on bail. He is free to walk the streets but not to articulate his ideas or experiences through social media, nor is he allowed to set foot on his own property, place of business, which has now been seized by the state and surrounded by police officers at all times of day and night. He is not able to provide food or clothing or shelter for his family. And it's hard to say exactly where all this is headed. If I had to guess, I think that the state really doesn't have much more to play here than a bluff. A giant, big, scary bluff card. And there's a lot of, it would seem that there's a lot of giant vested interests involved. The media only really has one angle to play. They've been playing the same card as have our public representatives. And a lot of it seems pretty scary. But to the few who don't buy into it and stand up, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot that the state can do. If you see that the charges that were laid to Randy Hillier were, that guy's going to be out unquestionably. I can't imagine what they're even thinking there. As far as Adam Skelly's charges were concerned, they seemed like a bunch of silly misdemeanors that you would charge a bunch of kids skateboarding in the wrong park over, you know? I don't think that's going to go very far either. And the harder Adam Skelly pushes to be just the slightest amount free under these lockdowns, the more the state has to come up with a way to justify their actions. And sooner or later, this is going to wind up in the Supreme Court. And Canada's Supreme Court still has a lot of teeth, and there's still a lot of strong constitutional precedent involved here. Everything that the lockdowns are based on is from, I'm going to get the law wrong, I can't remember the name of it, but it's some kind of SARS-related pandemic law, so that Canada had room to play with rules as it was under a pandemic emergency. And that's what's being done now. That's what all the lockdowns are based off of, legally. But there's vague language used in there. And I think that's what Adam Skelly's lawyers are playing with. It's hard to say where things are going to go from here, but it's almost certainly going to be escalated as far as either side can afford, and that's a pretty far way to go. Hard to say where things go from here. It is 2020 after all. We do hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe, like, all that other jazz, and stay apolitically correct, my friends. Have a good one.